Tonight on Reporting Scotland, the Scottish former world snooker champion Graham Dott is charged with child sex offences. The 47-year-old faces historical charges relating to 2 children and is expected to appear in court in June. Also tonight, another large fire at a battery recycling plant in North Ayrshire. Crews were called out as flames and smoke could be seen around Kilwinning exactly a year after another blaze at the same site. A study mapping the impact of being born prematurely provides new insights into child development.
Every time we look at Lily and think about how lucky we are that she's come on the way she has, we just hope that they can do that for more people.
Coming up in the sport, Rangers coach Barry Ferguson holds clear-the-air talks with his players after a dreadful run of home form as they prepare for a Europa League quarter-final against Athletic Bilbao.
And the story of 2 couples in Orkney celebrating an extremely rare double 70th wedding anniversary. Hello, I'm Laura Miller. Welcome to Wednesday's programme. The Scottish former world snooker champion Graham Dott has been charged with child sex offences. The 47-year-old, who won the world title in 2006, faces historical charges relating to 2 children who were understood to be around 10 years old at the time. Well, our sports news correspondent Chris McLaughlin is at the High Court in Glasgow for us this evening. Chris, what more do we know?
Well, Laura, Graham Dott is a huge name in snooker, not just here in Scotland and the UK, but also worldwide. You mentioned world champion in 2006. He climbed to number 2 in the world rankings just a year later. He is a big figure in the sport. Now, prosecutors claim the first attack happened in the Glasgow area between 1993 and 1996. The second charge relates to an alleged attack between 2006 and 2010. As you say, both alleged victims understood to be around 10 years old at the time. He is due to appear here at the High Court in Glasgow on June the 11th. Now, Dott, who is from Lark Hall in South Lanarkshire, was due to be playing qualifying matches this week, but he has been suspended by World Snooker's governing body. Now, they released a statement earlier saying Graham Dott has been suspended by the WPBS due to a case which is scheduled to be heard before the High Court in Scotland. Whilst court proceedings are ongoing, they say it would be inappropriate to make any further comment.
OK, Chris, at the High Court in Glasgow, thank you. Fire crews are battling a huge blaze at a battery recycling plant in North Ayrshire. The second time in a year it's been engulfed in flames. Residents reported hearing explosions from the facility in Kilwinning when the fire broke out this afternoon. Well, our news correspondent Jamie McIver is at the scene for us tonight. Jamie, what's the latest there then?
Well, Laura, 6 hours after the alarm was raised, water is still being sprayed onto the site to cool it down, as you can maybe see behind me. We're told that the fire is out, but this was certainly a serious incident. It's very fortunate that nobody has been injured. Now, the alarm was raised shortly before 1 o'clock this afternoon. Local residents have told us they heard what sounded like an explosion. Some even thought they were hearing gunfire. Thick smoke soon covered the area. Now, all 3 emergency services were called to the scene and a cordon was put in place. Homes were evacuated nearby and other people living in the area were told to close their doors and windows as a precaution. I've just been speaking to one local resident who witnessed what happened earlier.
And I just seen sparks and things flying up. It was so scary. And then the fire was under control a bit. But then it had moved over to the ambulance, round the ambulance, and all the debris that's lying. It's like a movie scene there with all the batteries, with cables coming out.
And Jamie, this isn't the first time there's been a big fire at this site.
No, it isn't, Laura, and some local residents, including the lady we've just heard from, made the point to me that they were worried because there had been a fire on this site before, a fire exactly a year ago, and that fire took 4 days to put out. There was a major investigation after that. Police say that they're now going to take time to establish exactly what happened here today, find out exactly how the fire started. They say they won't be making any presumptions. Also, the police say that the cordon around the site should soon be lifted, so that means that local residents should be able to spend the night in their own home.
OK, Jamie in North Ayrshire, thank you. Police say a series of fire attacks and gun incidents in Edinburgh and Greater Glasgow could be linked to a gangland feud. Detectives are investigating a fire at a factory in Bishopbriggs in East Dunbartonshire and reported attacks on homes and another business this week. It follows a series of incidents in Edinburgh over the past month where a number of arrests have been made. Maura Kinnebra reports.
Fire broke out at a carpet factory in Bishopbriggs earlier this week. Police are investigating the cause. It's the latest in a series of fires in and around Greater Glasgow in recent days. Several homes and another business, a Kirkintilloch car company, were also affected. No one was injured. Videos of some of these incidents have been posted online, alongside threats and warnings. Police have issued a statement saying detectives are investigating a number of reports in the east and west of Scotland of discharges of firearms, fire-raising and vandalisms, all being treated as potentially linked.
My garage.
Over the past month, similar incidents have happened around Edinburgh. Police believe criminal gangs are actively targeting each other. Gunshots were fired at 2 separate homes, one here in the north of the city, another in the south. Again, no injuries were reported. Detectives from the Major Investigations team say they're examining several house and business fires in Edinburgh as part of the wider investigation. Senior officers have said they're using all resources available to them to disrupt activity, identify those responsible and bring them to justice. A number of arrests have been made. Police are conducting more checks and patrols, appealing for anyone with information to come forward immediately. Maura Kinnebra, reporting Scotland.
A study mapping the impact of being born prematurely is providing new insights into child development. The Their World Edinburgh Birth Cohort, the first of its kind in the world, is following the development of 400 children. It was set up by the former Prime Minister Gordon Brown and his wife Sarah, who lost their daughter Jennifer. Katrina Renton reports.
We need a flour and a sugar.
Elliot lives in Edinburgh with his family. He's baking a cake with his dad Scott. He's now 4 years old, but he made his entrance into the world early.
Extremely early, 25 weeks on the dot. You know, you imagine the worst. You get handed this piece of paper with the weeks and their survivability and things like that.
Oh, if we got handprints, yeah, so that was our first Easter.
Ah, look how much bigger your hands are now.
Meet 4-year-old Lily. She was born at 24 weeks plus 1 day. She weighed just £1 6 ounces.
It was terrifying. He told us that we had a 60-40 chance of survival. And you need them to be fighters, and she is most definitely a little fighter.
Both Lily and Elliot are helping doctors and scientists understand how preterm babies' brains develop as part of the Their World Edinburgh cohort. 400 children, both premature and full-term, are taking part. 23 years ago, Sarah and Gordon Brown's baby daughter Jennifer was born at 33 weeks. More than 13,000 people wrote to them after she died, many like the Browns looking for answers. They founded the laboratory in Jennifer's name with the University of Edinburgh and the Edinburgh Royal Infirmary.
For Gordon and I, losing Jennifer was the greatest loss, and it's one that stays with us. That doesn't change. But of course I'm proud of what her legacy is, because it did galvanise in us starting something that has grown to be something very extraordinary today.
Some of the children in the cohort are now 7 years old. The team use a series of brain scans and psychological studies at various ages.
We think it's crucial to understand the hows and whys in order to develop new treatments and new ways of supporting that group of children.
A key finding is the impact poverty can have on brain development, such as speech and language difficulties.
Yes, it would be fair to say that a baby born at full term to a more deprived couple has the similar sort of risk of developing some developmental difficulties as a baby born at 25 weeks to a well-to-do, into a well-to-do family.
Look, I'm a mum, I would go back to the beginning and have it all change and not end the way it did for me. And I would love to think that other families can avoid that loss, or if they have a baby that's born prematurely and more vulnerable, or coming out of circumstances that are much more precarious, that there'll be a better way to track that future.
Lily's mum and dad say others can learn from how she develops as she grows up.
Every time we look at Lily and think about how lucky we are that she's come on the way she has, we just hope that they can do that for more people and for children that are born even earlier, potentially.
The Jack and the Flum Flum tree.
Robin is proud of both her boys. Finnan, who was full-term, is taking part in a separate study to help learn from children as they develop.
Both of my little boys are little scientists.
Katrina Renton, reporting Scotland, Edinburgh.
Well, let's go to some breaking news now that's emerging this evening in the trade war sparked by President Donald Trump's tariffs. He says he is pausing some of those higher tariffs, which have sent shockwaves around the global economy. Well, our political correspondent Andrew Kerr is here to tell us the details. Just fill us in, Andrew. This has been happening while we've been on air.
Yes, that's true, Laura, and President Trump likes to keep us on our toes, doesn't he? I spent the day looking at the impact, potentially, of tariffs when it comes to toy imports coming into Scotland from China. And now Donald Trump, as you say, has announced a 90-day pause on higher tariffs for dozens of countries. But he hikes levies on China to 125%. So he is really targeting the Chinese. So this becomes a real US-China trade war. So that means I think that 10% tariff might still remain for the United Kingdom. It does ease off the global pressure that we are seeing in this emerging trade war. Stock markets are reacting well to that news, but it just goes to show, doesn't it, how President Trump can really be such a powerful world figure, everyone jumping to his tune, but now the US and China really fighting it out.
Yeah, and details of that still emerging, and we will keep you abreast at home of all those details on the website. But thank you for the moment, Angie. A motorcyclist has been knocked down and killed by a car in a hit and run in Edinburgh. The 61-year-old man, who was riding a Kawasaki bike, died at the scene of the crash on the A90 Queensferry Road. Police are trying to trace the driver of the car involved, which drove off before emergency services arrived around 11:15 last night. NHS Grampian is being given a Scottish Government loan of more than £67 million to tackle its overspend. It's on top of an existing government loan to the Health Board, bringing the total to £92 million. NHS Grampian says there are many factors contributing to its financial position, including increased staff and running costs and a rise in the elderly population. Phil McDonald reports.
A Health Board tackling its own emergency. Higher running costs and increasing patient demand have piled pressure on NHS Grampian. This latest government bailout eases the pressure for now.
There is an expectation that this is in order for them to bridge some of the gap that they have at the moment, that continues to be supported by our financial delivery unit, and will continue to support them with a view to seeing them return to a position of financial sustainability.
Grampian's leadership team says it's dealing with a number of challenges. Healthcare is becoming more expensive to provide to an ageing population. Hiring staff is proving to be a challenge too, with agency workers filling the gaps, and services are stretched to the limit. The Scottish Government says it's giving NHS boards over £14.2 billion to support services, a real terms increase of almost 3%. But Grampian's latest loan has brought fresh claims of underfunding.
A few months ago, there was a national emergency. Ambulances were getting diverted to NHS Tayside. This is a massive shout to say Neil Gray should stop drip feeding loans and start funding NHS Grampian properly.
Those on the front line say something has to change.
For many years and decades, there's been a lack of forward planning in the NHS and in social care, as we've just said. They need to look at how the future is going to be looked and properly fund the changes in the population's health needs.
Scottish ministers have commissioned a review into how the Health Board can save money. Grampian's next board meeting will take place tomorrow. Phil McDonald, reporting Scotland, Aberdeen.
Well, our health correspondent Lisa Summers is in Aberdeen for us tonight. And Lisa, this issue isn't just contained to NHS Grampian, is it?
Well, Laura, Grampian faces some significant challenges, but they're far from alone in having to ask the Scottish Government for financial support to help them break even. Ayrshire and Arran, NHS Fife, NHS Highland are just some of the others that have already asked the Scottish Government for a loan this year. It's called brokerage, and I think it's a fair reflection of just how difficult boards are finding it to make savings, but also to absorb the costs of things like wage increases, like running older buildings when there's no money to build new ones, or the increased cost of drugs. Now, this money doesn't have to be paid back until the health boards are financially sustainable, but it's hard to see how that's going to happen without health boards having to make some really difficult decisions about what services to cut back on in order to kind of become financially sustainable once again.
OK, Lisa Summers in Aberdeen, thank you. Now, celebrating a 70th wedding anniversary is rare enough these days, but what about 2 in one day and all in one family? Well, that's what's happening in Orkney today. Tommy Budge and his sister Violet both married their respective partners on the 9th of April 1955, and they've all been speaking to our reporter David Deldy.
On April the 4th, an epoch in British history ended with the resignation of Sir Winston Churchill as Prime Minister.
April 1955. Little did they know it at the time, but days later, hundreds of miles away in Orkney, another event took place, which itself is now going down in the history books. Tommy Budge was away doing national service, but used the opportunity of a rare weekend home to get married to Thelma Bruce in a joint ceremony with his sister Violet and Leslie Flett. Just as they did exactly 70 years ago, the four have spent today together, reminiscing about the ceremony and reception.
We gave a cross to his mother, and we got a glass of champagne from the gentleman of the house. We got a glass of champagne. I did not like it. It's the first time I tasted it and the last.
A variety of choices on the menu today. 70 years ago, 30 or so guests were treated to homemade chicken and potatoes, and the entertainment provided by one of the grooms.
An old cousin of Tommy's father suggested that it was time Tommy took a smooth organ.
So you took the smooth organ, Tommy?
Yeah, I get him a tune now and again just to keep him quiet.
Family have come from near and far to join in with the celebrations.
I think they've had a long happy marriage with lots of family occasions like this, which has been lovely. And I think we were just saying this morning that they've been grandparents for longer than they've not been grandparents, so they definitely know what they're doing with that.
Work commitments meant that the two couples perhaps didn't spend as much time with each other as they would have often liked. Part of the secret to their success, finding ways around that.
If I needed to tell him anything, I wrote it on a post-it note and stuck it in the mirror. And the mirror I knew would be the first thing that he would see when he came in through the door. And he would answer it. If he needed an answer, he would write his answer on the note and stick it back in the mirror. And then I could see it in the morning when I came home.
Cheers to the two happy couples.
Cheers! David Deldy, reporting Scotland, Orkney.
Oh, what a lovely day. Congratulations to all of them. Paul Barnes is here with the sport. Post-it notes, clearly the answer there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You're looking ahead to a big night tomorrow, though?
A big night at Ibrox tomorrow, Laura, but which Rangers team will turn up? Let's wait and see. Hello there. The Rangers head coach Barry Ferguson has questioned the mental strength of his players and challenged them to raise their standards ahead of the biggest game of their season, the first leg of their Europa League quarter-final against Athletic Bilbao. This is the Ibrox squad at training this morning, finalising their preparations for the visit of the fourth top side in Spain after what Ferguson described as a lengthy clear-the-air chat with his players on Monday. That followed their fifth home defeat in a row at the hands of Hibernian.
I've seen aspects in certain games mentally strong, but other games they're just way off it. You can't be like that. You can't. It's not just a switch that you can turn off and on, and that's the case. That's what we've done. As I said, the big games are the ones generally are the easy ones that you don't really need to motivate. It's the other games that's became a real issue, and that's something again that we spoke about as a group at length. And now, hopefully going forward, I'll start to see a bit more consistency, because that's something that we've certainly not showed over the season. We've done it, played really well, if I'm being honest with you, in some games. In other games, it's just been a total different team.
And this is the sort of inconsistency that Ferguson is alluding to. Some of Rangers' best results of the season coming in Nice and Istanbul, and a 3-0 win against Premiership leaders Celtic. But from the highs to the lows, Queen's Park, Motherwell and St Mirren have all left Ibrox with victories. Rangers' form is so hard to explain. Meanwhile, their opponents, Athletic Bilbao, have arrived in Glasgow and have been getting the feel for Ibrox. The Basque side knocked out Italian giants Roma in the previous round and have beaten Real Madrid in La Liga this season, so they will be pretty handy, although they haven't scored in their last 2 games. Let's hear from their head coach.
Rangers are one of the toughest teams in the competition for me. I think there's arguments that they could be one of the favourites. Any team that's in the quarterfinals is here because they can achieve big things. So it's a knockout competition. The team that makes the fewest mistakes, who does the best, can get into the next round.
Australia's Melissa Andretta will become the new head coach of the Scotland women's team, taking over from previous boss Pedro Martinez-Losa and the recent interim head coach Michael McArdle, whose final game in charge was yesterday's 6-1 defeat to Germany. Andretta said the position at Hampden was the perfect opportunity as she tries to return a Scotland squad she describes as being in a period of transition back to qualifying for World Cups and European Championships. Let's have a look at Andretta's CV. She won the Australian Women's League with Brisbane Roar before working as an assistant coach with the Matildas, the Australian national team, and the under-23s, where she helped the teams to 4th place finishes at the World Cup and the Olympic Games. And here's the scale of the task facing her. Scotland failed to qualify for this summer's Euros, hastening the departure of Martinez-Losa, and in Michael McArdle's temporary stint in charge, Scotland have lost all 4 of their Nations League games. Defender Rachel Corsie hopes Andretta's success with Australia can rub off on Scotland.
She's coming from a nation that have also had really high expectations. Australia have performed well at major tournaments in the last few years. They've had high ambitions. I think we need to bring that into our environment. I think we need to be, as we say, we need to be more competitive in the games where we're playing nations that are ranked better than us.
Now, rugby and Glasgow Warriors need to have belief when they take on Leinster in their Champions Cup quarter-final in Dublin on Friday, according to their forward Nathan Macbeth. The front row helped the Warriors beat Leicester Tigers at Scotstoun on Saturday, the same day as Leinster scored 62 points against Harlequins without reply in their last 16 tie. With a place in the semis of European Rugby's Premier competition at stake, Macbeth feels Warriors must focus on their own threats and worry less about a Leinster team that boasts several members of the Ireland side ranked 3rd in the world rankings.
We just want to make Glasgow proud, and that's all I can basically say, actually. I mean, they had a good game, but we also had a good game, so yeah, I just back ourselves, and I think it's going to be a hell of a game this Friday. So yeah, excited to be back at the Viva. Doesn't get much bigger than this. I mean, it's a quarter-final against a very good quality team, and I think it's going to be a hell of a game.
And finally, it's not every day a Scotland cricket team beats the West Indies, but that's exactly what's happened in Lahore. Scotland won by 11 runs in their opening Women's World Cup qualifier. Abtaha Maqsood took the decisive wicket for Scotland, and just in the nick of time, West Indies were closing in on a target of 245 runs, but were halted in their tracks by Maqsood. Scotland's next group match is against the hosts, Pakistan, on Thursday. And we wish them well.
Wow, what a result.
Great result, yeah.
Definitely a cricket fan. OK, thanks, Paul. Now, just before we go to the weather, actor and comedian Karen Dunbar has picked up an award for her role in a video game. She won Best Supporting Actor at the BAFTA Game Awards last night for her role in the Scottish oil rig thriller Still Wakes the Reef.
I'm a Scottish actor.
I have been nominated for many a Scottish BAFTA and never won one. And yet here I am in the gaming community. Thank you so much for this.
Well done to her. Now, Gillian is here with the weather. What a week we've been having.
I know. It was lovely again for most of us again today, Laura. Warmest in the west as it has been in recent days. Quite cool for eastern coast. That's set to change tomorrow. Lovely. Good evening to you. Yes, we'll see a bit of a shift in that area of high pressure tomorrow. Today was a bit of a slow start for some of us with some mist and low cloud in places, but for most, it burnt off, and once that sunshine got going, there was plenty of it to be had. Tomorrow, that high slips southwards, setting up a westerly airflow and pushing that heat eastwards. So tomorrow, it will be northeast Scotland that'll be our hotspot. But tonight, it's chilly across the board. There'll be cloudy conditions lingering for Shetland, a few pockets of mist and fog elsewhere. Otherwise, it's dry with clear skies, temperatures low single figures in most cases, and there could be a touch of frost in some rural spots. So tomorrow, a chilly start. That mist and fog won't last long in the sunshine, and once again for most of us there will be plenty spring sunshine on offer, but cloudier conditions once again for Shetland and for Orkney, perhaps producing some patchy rain later in the afternoon, and some cloudier conditions pushing into the Western Isles too. But for most of the mainland it's blue skies and sunshine, lifting temperatures in the northeast to 22 Celsius or so, and for southern, central and western Scotland temperatures mid to high teens for the most part, but a cooler feel for the Western Isles and western coastal fringes with that breeze coming in off the sea. Tomorrow night we'll see cloud extending into the northwest Highlands. Again, there could be some patchy rain and drizzle, most likely over Shetland. Further south it stays dry and clear, but some pockets of mist and fog again for southwestern coasts. Now we head into Friday, and for most it's still very much a high pressure settled story with sunshine. Might turn a wee bit hazy as cloud increases from the northwest, and that cloud producing some outbreaks of rain for the western and northern Isles with quite a brisk breeze here as well. We head into the weekend and high pressure is leaving us behind, but it's a slow transition to more unsettled weather, so not bad at all on Saturday. Eastern Scotland seeing the best of the sunshine because cloud will increase across the west, and we'll finally see some rain on Saturday evening. That's the forecast.
I've forgotten what it feels like. Thank you, Gillian. Now tonight's main news again. In some developing news, President Trump announces a 90-day pause on higher tariffs for dozens of countries, but hikes the rate for China to 125%. And at home, fire crews are battling a huge blaze at a battery recycling plant in Kilwinning in North Ayrshire. In the second time in a year, it's been engulfed in flames. And that is Reporting Scotland. The news at 7 is about to begin shortly on the BBC Scotland channel. From us, good night.